There's a woman named Jessica Sklar who lived with her husband and their two school-aged children, young kids, in a home that they absolutely loved in Pacific Palisades before the fire burned it down. And after the fire took away all of their worldly possessions, they found themselves wandering in the wilderness. From mid-January until mid-March, they moved 5 times from Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb. In the home that they had loved, they felt serenity, anchored, stability. And in the wilderness in which they wandered, they felt deep anxiety and deep edge. A question lodged in their soul. We are not okay. Are we ever going to get to okay again? And then in the midst of all of this uncertainty and edge, and we're not okay, will we ever get okay again? There was one place where they found hope and strength, and that was Little League baseball field. So the Times ran this piece about the Pacific Palisades Youth Baseball League, and all of the fields in the Pacific Palisades were destroyed by the fire, but they would go to neighboring towns. And it writes as follows: "At last came the siren call, play ball. The pomp and circumstance provided a modicum of normalcy for families who in the previous 53 days have had to find new homes, schools, doctors, cars, clothes, places to worship, and more, all while navigating the maze of insurance and government assistance and deciding what to do next. I cried seeing people," said Juliana Davis, who lost her home. "I cried coming," said her friend Erin Shidsey, whose house also burned. More than 450 boys and girls signed up for this Little League before the fires in a different, better, simpler age. More than 300 are coming, and the parents and kids all find this a tonic for the soul. Now, this story reached me because it raised a fundamental question. What do we do when we are in the wilderness? What do we do when it is we who are wandering in the wilderness? We have not lost our homes due to the fires, but many of us are wandering in a wilderness of edge and of anxiety, and a question lodges in our soul. We are not okay, and we wonder whether we will ever get to okay again. I teach a class on Zoom with our sisterhood and get about 32 learners every Tuesday morning. And I've been teaching this class forever. And I hear in the voices of these 32 students a voice I have never heard before. The voice is something like, "I really worry about the world that we're living in. I really worry about Israel. I've always loved Israel, but what is going to be with Israel? I really worry about our country. I wonder whether we're going to be able to leave a democracy for our kids and grandkids. We are not okay, and I wonder and worry whether we will ever get to okay." Many of us are existing in this wilderness of edge and anxiety, and it is there that the Torah has something to say. So much of the Torah is about the wilderness. What happens when we are in the wilderness? You know that the 4th book is Bamidbar, in the wilderness. 40 years. Hot, dry, endless. 40 years, grains of sand. 40 years, where are we going? Where are we going? When will we get there? 40 years. And the second half of the book of Exodus we're reading now offers a prescription for the wilderness, which is build a counterworld, build a tabernacle. The wilderness is chaotic. Build a counterworld that's orderly. The wilderness is harsh. Build a counterworld that is filled with love. The wilderness is dangerous. Build a counterworld where you feel safe and secure. That's what the Israelites did in the readings we're doing now. They built a Mishkan, a counterworld. And that's what we need to do. We need to build a counterworld. We're not hopeless in the face of a wilderness, and we're not helpless in the face of a wilderness. We've got work to do in the face of a wilderness, and that is to build a counterworld. And the Torah is going to give us 3 granular questions to think about as we build our counterworld. Question number 1, who are our people? Who is it that we do life with? We need to have people. Who are our people? The Pacific Palisades survivors found their people, other Pacific Palisades survivors. And the tribes of Israel found their people, the tribe that they were in. Who is our people? Who do we do life with? And what do we do to keep those relationships sustained and alive and not living on yesterday? And this is important to help us navigate the tensions and worries of our age. And this is important, not just important, it's life-savingly important. Life itself. By the way, your life, my life, our life hangs in the balance. Because loneliness is real. And loneliness is not just depressing. Loneliness is fatal. We all followed the story about Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, and their dog, who were all found dead in their remote home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the authorities investigated. And the authorities concluded that there was no foul play. Betsy Arakawa died from a respiratory illness that she had contracted from rodents. Gene Hackman died from heart disease plus advanced Alzheimer's. The authorities concluded that there was no foul play, but also concluded this, that Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa and their dog had been dead, all dead together in their home for more than a week. And there was no person who knew or cared. There was no person who noticed that they were missing. How did it get found out? Well, the security guy at the complex rang the doorbell. The maintenance guy rang the doorbell. There's no answer. The maintenance guy goes to security. There's no answer. The security guy rings the doorbell. There's no answer. The security guy calls 911. They're all dead. Now, here's the main point about Gene Hackman. And don't miss this, because your life, my life, our life is at stake on this. Loneliness is not a problem that is solved once and done. I'm done with loneliness. I've solved the problem of loneliness. No. Loneliness is a tension to be managed all the days of our lives. We're never out of harm's way when it comes to loneliness. That is fatal. Gene Hackman was a star. He won 2 Oscars. He was in countless films. He had glory and glamour and glitz and people, and then nothing. Solitude and loneliness. And if we live long enough, we are heir to that problem too. We used to have children at home, and the energy of our children at home, and our children grew up and they grew out. I had such a loving marriage to my spouse for more than 50 years, but the love of my life died. And now I am alone. And I have children and I have grandchildren who love me, but they live out of town. And they always call on Sundays. And I love those Sunday calls. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there are a lot of hours and not a lot of people around. No, loneliness is not a problem to be solved. It is a tension to be managed. And if we live long enough, and our kids and grandkids are up and out, and our spouse passes, this is our world too. And that's why Temple Emmanuel, any good community of faith, is so crucial. Because if you are a member of Temple Emmanuel, and if you show up, let me say that again. If you show up, then you are in a thick network of people who know you and who love you and who care about you and who notice if you are missing. If you show up, there are no Gene Hackmans at Temple Emmanuel. So if you want to build a counterworld, first question is, who are your people and what are you doing on an ongoing basis to keep the relationships alive, sustained, and growing? We need people to stay alive and healthy, and to get people that take showing up on an ongoing basis. Second question, what is our distinctive gift? What gift are we going to give in this counterworld we're building? And of course, we learned this from the Mishkan Parshiyot. The woodworkers gave wood, and the metal workers gave metal, and the jewelers gave fine gems. What gift are you giving to your counterworld? Speaking with a woman who had been taking care of her loved one who was in memory care. Now, you know, if your loved one's ever been in memory care, that memory care is the end of the line, and memory care is grim. Memory care is a very hard place. And she was in memory care with her loved one, and she found an unexpected blessing and delight that the food was consistently terrific. She had thought that there would be grim institutional food at this grim institution, but to their delight, every meal was a beyond home run. The food was really attractively presented, and it was delicious, and it was healthy. And this is meal after meal after meal. The light of their day, the food. So she goes to find the chef, to thank the chef for this food. And the chef is hard at work doing a mango infusion for the fruit plate that's going to be the dessert. He cares and he works to create some moment of pleasure and nutrition and wholesomeness in a tough day. That's his distinctive gift. What is ours? And here's the third question for our counterworld. Who are we helping? Who will be better off because of us? I was at Minyan one night, and this woman comes up who's saying Kaddish for her aunt. And of course, we invite people who are saying Kaddish to tell us something about their loved one. This woman comes up and she says, I'm saying Kaddish for my aunt. I've been saying Kaddish for my aunt for years. And she says, I know that's not so conventional. Most people don't say Kaddish for their aunt. Let me tell you why I'm saying Kaddish for my aunt. She says, by conventional metrics, my aunt did not have the most successful life. She never got married. She never had her own children. She never had a real education. She never got a job. And so she might have been grumpy or angry or with a chip on her shoulder. But my aunt was just the opposite. She rolled through life with energy and positive ebullience. And the reason is that her main thing in life was love, was showing and receiving love. And she didn't have her own kids, but she had nieces and nephews. And she had this superpower to make every niece and every nephew feel seen and loved. And she taught us that the metric for a successful life is love. How much you give and how much you receive. She made the biggest difference in my life. And as long as I am alive, I am going to be honoring Yortzeit and saying Kaddish for my aunt. And so, wilderness is real. Bamidbar, oh my God, Bamidbar is real. And wilderness comes in all shapes and sizes. Biblical Israel had the OG wilderness with the hot, endless, dry sun and sand. Pacific Palisades folks have their own wilderness. Their homes and possessions are gone. Many of us have our wilderness of the heart and soul, worrying about the lands we love and wondering whether we will ever be okay and whether we will ever get to okay again. And to that worry, the Torah says, get going. Build your counterworld. Who are our people? What is our gift? Who will we help? The chef did a mango infusion to light up the lives of the people in the memory care. People on that baseball field who lost their homes found hope on the field. This aunt provided the metric, that the real metric is love. What will we do to create a counterworld of love? Shabbat Shalom.